Hey guys, Carl at Technical Enduro Skills Training School. Just a very quick tips and tricks video on how to do pivot turns or how to get the front wheel up off the ground very easily. There's 4 basic steps and we'll show you a couple of different ways of learning each step independently, and then you're going to put all the steps together. So the first in the process is we're going to find the clutch bite point. We want to start a front wheel lift with the clutch already on the bite point of the bike. That means the power is available to your fingertip straight away. Okay. The second step in the process is a preload of the suspension. We're going to do this in many different ways when we're standing on the bike or sitting on the bike or we're on a hillside, but you want to facilitate the preload of the suspension, and then as that suspension starts traveling back up, you're going to shift your body weight back, you're going to pull back on the handlebars, not up, back, and you're going to feed power in very slowly or easily with the clutch and the throttle at the same time, and the wheel will just come up super easy. And I'll show you different techniques to get the one, then the next step right, and then we'll do a technique where we'll put them all together. To find the clutch bite point, the simplest way to do this that we found is find a little bit of an incline or a bank. You're going to sit on your bike in first gear and you're going to roll forward up the bank, and you're going to let the bike roll back, and then you're going to catch the bike on the clutch bite point. There are other ways to know that you're on the clutch bite point. You can start the engine, you can hold the front brake, and you can let the clutch out against the front brake, very easy, and you can actually feel the rear mudguard lifting up. Have a look. Now at this point we know we're on the clutch bite point, and that's where you want to start from. So the first step was finding the clutch bite point. Now that you've got that dialed, we're looking at the second step in the process. The second step is the preload. You can facilitate the preload in many different ways. If I just sit on the bike and I hold the front brake, I can throw my body weight forward and backwards. If I'm off the bike, I can just push down through the foot peg. The preload is a very crucial part of any front wheel lift, because what you're doing is you're taking the mass of the bike in a downwards direction, and the springs are actually assisting you in helping to bring that bike up. You can lift the front wheel off the ground just using the suspension of the bike with no engine on. Have a look. So what you want to do is create that condition, and all you're going to do is once the bike starts traveling up, you're going to assist it a little bit with power. Okay, so watch again. I'm holding the front brake, I'm holding the rear brake just to lock the rear wheel in place so the bike doesn't roll back, and I do a deep preload and I move my body weight forward and backwards. No engine power required. Okay, now we're going to put step 1 and step 2 together. So I'm going to find a clutch bite point. I'm going to then hold the front brake and I'm going to do a preload forward and back, and as the bike starts coming back, I'm going to feed a little bit of power in with the clutch and the throttle, and the wheel will come up very easily. Listen to my engine. I won't be revving at a huge amount. I'm going to be using the preload of the bike to do as much of the work as possible. Okay, bite point, forward and back. Okay, now that you can put the clutch bite point, the preload and the lift together on flat ground or against a bank, all you want to practice next is you want to line yourself up slightly angled up on a bank, raise your front wheel up a tiny bit so that the initial lifting part is a little bit easier. More weight will be on your rear wheel, which will provide a little bit more rear grip. I'm standing off the bike. I've got my foot on this foot peg. I'm not covering the brake because while the bike is on the clutch bite point, the rear wheel is locked into place, so that'll hold, the bike won't roll back. Okay, so it's very important you're on the right place with the clutch bite point. The second thing is I'm going to do a preload. In this case, I'm going to hold the front brake, but I'm going to push simultaneously through my arms and my legs to make the bike do a nice preload. And as soon as the bike preloads, I'm going to move my body weight back. I'm going to pull back on the handlebars. I'm going to give a little bit of power with the clutch and the throttle, and the bike will just come up. We want the bike to come up, so I'm not leaning the bike over. I'm trying to keep the bike as upright as I can. I want to pull back on the bars. The bike should come up, and then I'm going to use a small pushing motion to turn the bike on its axis and put the front wheel at 12 o'clock. I don't want to pull the bike, because if I pull the bike over, it'll just fall on its side. So what you want to do is a forward push on the suspension and a rearwards pull against the bike's desire to go forward when you give it power, and the bike will just come up. The bike is upright. Find the clutch bite point. There it is. Hold the front brake. Preload. That's it. You can just work your way around. Same thing in the other direction. Clutch bite point, preload, pull back, a little bit of power, the bike will come up, turn the bike. Lots of other little exercises you can do on the bank. It's really relatively safe because you're much less likely to loop the bike out. So get yourself up onto a nice steep bank, put your body weight back on the seat, which makes the front really light, and then you can just play around using the clutch and the throttle and a little bit of body movement to make the front wheel light, to move the front wheel around, and eventually you can start practicing static holds. Just want to get used to where that bite point is. So exactly the same technique or sequence of events applied with marginal differences helps you pivot turning over a log as well. I'm standing on the log with my left foot, my other foot is on the foot peg. I'm going to hold the front brake so that I can do a nice preload of the bike against the front brake, and then I'm going to just pivot the bike over. I'm going to try and hold the bike as upright as possible. I'm going to preload, I'm going to pull back on the bars, front wheel's going to come up, I'm going to turn the bike over, and I'm going to ride over the log. First gear, bite point, preload, remember, the preload is an incredibly important part of getting the front wheel off the ground, because you're compressing the springs and the springs are assisting you. So even with the engine off, you can do a front wheel lift. It's pretty much the same technique when you're starting to learn slow wheelies. I'm gonna, in this instance, put my weight back on the seat. I'm gonna just dangle both legs on the ground for balance. I'm gonna find the clutch bite point. I'm gonna do a preload. I'm gonna shift my weight forward and back, pull on the bars, and the bike's just gonna come up. And you're gonna just practice lifting it a little bit more each time, so that hopefully you don't have a loop out moment. Because I'm not covering the rear brake in this exercise, if I am to loop the bike out, I'll normally let go with one arm so that the bike goes to the left or the bike goes to the right, and it normally saves the rear mudguard. Okay, you don't need a lot of engine power. Remember, the preload is what's doing most of the work.